You with another video on the Alekhine Chatard attack. This will be the fourth and final installment of the system, and I just wanted to get right into the game here. We'll get to our starting position, which is in the main line of the French defense after 6h4. And so the other moves we looked at what happened after castling. We looked at what happened if a6 here and c5. So, and probably the most critical line here, like the absolute best move, I think, is bishop takes g5, and I'll get into why I think that's the best move later on. But after h takes g5 here, queen takes on g5, knight h3, queen e7, knight f4. You can also play in this position, you can also play queen g4 first, followed by this knight move, which is a different strategy. I think that's actually the older way of playing it. Knight f4 is the modern main line. And knight c6 here, I'll move 9. That's what was played in the game, but I want to look at some other moves. I want to look at knight f8. There was one game here. Queen g4 was played, and f5. Okay, so e takes f5, g takes f5. White just castles long here. Black plays c6. Rook e1, king d8, rook h6, e5 here. Queen h4, knight bd7, bishop d3, e4, queen g3, queen f7, bishop takes e4, d takes e4, knight takes e4. Rook g8, you just go queen a3 here, queen g7, knight d6. So knight gets to a really good square here. Knight b6 was played in the game. Knight e8. And if queen f7, queen d6 check. And already this is really, you don't want to go for this as black. So one other move, instead of knight f8, what about c5? Just to show some more sidelines. I think it's useful just knowing the ins and outs of these things. c5 here, we always go knight b5. And if c takes d4, knight c7 check. King d8, knight takes a8, queen b4 check, king e2. So you see white won some material, black's trying to counterattack. He takes on e5, knight d3, takes on d3, queen takes d3, queen takes b2. Just rook d1, b6. And you can see probably white is slightly better in these lines as well. So I want to look at another move here, g6. I'll move 9 here, bishop d3, and queen g5 was played in one game. Queen d2 here, you just defend that knight. a6. So black is trying to prevent the knight from going to b5. But now the surprising bishop takes g6. Exclam. Knight takes on e5. That was a what was tried in the game. But what happens if f takes g6 here? Knight takes e6, attacks the queen. But now the queen just get traded off. Your queen takes d2, king takes d2. And you can see, based on this knight, and white has a little more space, white is definitely better in this position. So instead of taking on g6 here, black takes on e5. But now rook h5 attacks the queen. Knight c4, rook takes on g5, knight takes on d2. Bishop just gets out of harm's way. The knight gets out of harm's way. Knight c takes d5, e takes d5, knight takes d5, knight b6. But now knight takes c7, check, king f8, knight takes a8, knight takes a8, and king d2. So white's getting the other rook into play. White's going to be a little bit better once again. So, considering all of that, let's go back to move 9 here, where knight c6 was played here. Queen g4, g6, and white just castles. Okay, so that was what was played in the game. It's a game between Gulyev and Chuprikov from 1997, and these guys are not grandmasters, but both of them are over 2,300. But I picked this game off of a database, just because it shows what I think is one of the critical lines after knight b6 here. But before we go on knight b6 and the main game, I do want to look at one other sideline here, which is h5. And after h5, I think this is actually black's best move. That's why I want to look at it. And you'll see here, queen g3, it's the best square for the queen. Now knight b6 and bishop b5 is met by bishop d7, knight h3, so the knight is trying to reroute to the g5 square, and knight a5, knight goes to g5, and bishops get traded off, and a6 gets played. Knight just goes back to c3, and black castles on the queen side. But you can see in this line, black is in no real danger here. I mean, yeah, okay, white could probably play f4, but there's really no danger here. This is a completely safe line. Black is fine. So if you play the French defense and you play against the Alekhine Chatard attack, this is the line that I would recommend to you. And the computer even evaluates it as like negative 1.5. So I don't know. It maybe black needs an improvement earlier on, but this seems really good for black. And so okay, let's just go back here. So knight b6 was played in the game, but just keep in mind that h5, this is a really good way of playing for black, okay? But let's look at what happens after knight b6. Well, bishop b5, that's the best move. Pinning that knight, bishop d7. And after this trade, rook h6. So white's looking to double on the h file. Black just castles on the queen side, and after doubles, black gets a knight to c4, knight d3, b6, and rook takes h7. So white won a pawn here and is controlling this h file. Rook hf8. You know, you don't really want to make this trade and let this rook get to the 7th rank. That's not good. And then rook hf8, queen takes g6, which is probably came as a surprise, but still, because you can't really afford to trade that and let white get a rook here, followed by 2 rooks on the 7th is just a death sentence here. So bishop b7. So black played a waning move here. Queen h5 was played, and now black lashes out with the move c5. Queen h4. So white's offering a queen trade, which black takes him up on that, and takes on d4 here. Knight b5. Now f6. rook e7 here. It's a good move. Not only hitting the pawn, but also preparing to lift the other rook to the 7th. After king b8, rook h to h7. So that was the plan. Bishop a6, hitting that knight. Knight just takes on d4, and now knight a5. Knight b4. Bishop b7. So black trying to guard this square now. But now knight d to c6 check. And black resigned in this position. So this worked out really good. You know, why did he resign? Because after knight takes, for example, well, we can look at this, but this is just totally crushing here for white. Actually, after this knight move, in actual fact, if we turn on the engine, black's best move is just move the king out of the way, because he can't take this knight. If he takes the knight, not taking back the knight, but actually checking with the rook, king moving, and then knight taking here. And you can see that's just game over. So, what can we take away from this game? Well, if we recap really quick, h4 here, just remember if white takes material, we follow up with knight h3, and after the queen goes, typically the queen will move to e7 most of the time. Sometimes you'll see queen g6, but that's more rare, and typically you want to continue in the same style. You want to get the knight to f4, you want to get your queen to g4, g6 here. Let's, what if he takes? Castle here, knight f5, and now you have this nice little sacrifice. Let's say black takes queen e2, queen d6, f4. So white winning a piece here, it's winning the piece back. We could have something like this, but then you see there's tactics, picking up the queen, and white is much better. So so I just wanted to show that little sacrifice there in case of knight takes d4. Because knight takes d4, it looks like one of the more obvious moves. g6, like was played in the game, we saw white get the bishop to b5 here to trade it off, and then just complete domination of the h-file. This nice move, grabbing a pawn with the queen here. This is probably when it started to go downhill for black, and you saw just domination of the 7th rank here. This is what eventually won the game for white. So thanks guys. I'll be coming out with more videos in the future. Maybe a video on the Yugoslav attack or the Austrian attack, but I'll do one of those next. Thanks.